Here we go. It's part 1, and we have chapter 8 here. Chapter 8 is one of my very favorite chapters, though I say that about pretty much every chapter, but I love joints. And we're looking here at actually page 249. And we begin with the idea of classification, overall classification of joints. And so let's turn the page here. And we're going to cover a number of different classification topics. And we're going to begin with fibrous joints. After fibrous joints, wherein bones are joined together by collagen or fibrocartilage, and basically held together by fibers in that regard, fibrous joints. We're going to move on then to cartilaginous joints. And cartilaginous joints involve cartilage like hyaline cartilage and fibrocartilage joining bones together in order to create junctions. And then ultimately we're going to end up at synovial joints, which are freely movable joints. They're filled with fluid, and movement occurs. Things happen, work happens sometimes, locomotion happens, and so on. Okay, so those are the general categories, and let's begin then with the fibrous joints. The fibrous joints are listed here on page 250. The big overview here are going to be sutures, and then syndesmosis, syndesmoses for the plural. And then we have a gomphosis, which is unique to teeth, as it turns out. Teeth are going to fit in. So let's start over here with sutures. We're already familiar to some degree with sutures. Okay, and sutures are those situations, usually with flat bones of the skull, in which the bones interdigitate with each other, sometimes very in great detail, and sometimes a little bit more smoothly. Here the artist has presented us with a fairly smooth interdigitation. And if you were to look really closely, what you would see is the equivalent of dense, regular connective tissue. That is to say, you can recall tendons and ligaments in which the fibers are parallel to one another. So we have to, I don't know if I can get a close enough look here, but they're not really showing us what's going on. But you have to imagine that the fibroblasts have arranged the collagen bundles to be traveling parallel to each other and then also perpendicular to the bony attachment, right? And so we have tensile strength in the fibers here holding the bones together, and that's the deal. Okay, and that's a suture. Some of these, with time and age, actually get calcified over, and we lose track of where the suture is sometimes, like, for instance, at the maxilla, where the two maxilla left and right come together at the upper jaw, and it's difficult to pick out where they have done that. Okay, there's a few other places that are like that, but basically you can see where the sutures are if you examine skulls very carefully. Then we have what's called syndesmosis. Again, and this is something that their selection is an immovable joint, and that's one option. The ligament that is between the tibia and the fibula right there that forms the ankle. In the best of all worlds, we don't sprain ourselves too badly, and that ligament remains intact, and everybody gets to have a nice hinge-like joint right there. But there's other options for this, and we saw it before when we looked at the upper extremity, and we took a look between the two forearm bones, That would be over here. In which we had very nice rotations, as it turns out. So the rotational movement that allows the radius to spin around and to create, in essence, a radius around this central point here of the styloid process of the ulna. That movement is freely movable, and it involves not only these two synovial joints here, but also this syndesmosis joint right here. So you could say that the mid forearm joint, or the mid radioulnar joint, is going to be a freely movable joint, but it's not synovial, it's actually a syndesmosis. Okay, so just a little extra consideration there. So this could be an immovable type of joint, a syndesmosis, or it could be a freely movable joint, depending on where you select your spot. Then we have teeth. Teeth can be much more complicated than this tooth. It can have multiple roots and so on. But in the simplest case scenario, what we have here is the situation where a tooth has this portion which is in contact with food, and it has enamel. It has this portion here where the enamel ends, but it is still nevertheless in touch with the gingiva, or the gum. And then finally, that's the neck, by the way, and then finally the root of the tooth begins right here, where you're able to see the what I'm going to call a ligament, and they're going to be calling it a periodontal ligament. And you can see now, the way the artist has drawn this, that this is parallel. It's squared to the tooth itself and the bone, so it's actually, shall we say, running straight ahead to the tooth and straight back to the bone. But they're all parallel, and they're providing tensile strength in the manner in which we hold the tooth to the bone. Okay, so gomphosis. That would be that situation. Then we move on to the cartilaginous joints. And the first one that they're presenting here is a little bit bogus, and so we're not going to take it seriously. It's an undergraduate text here, so we're just going to pass over that in silence. But at any rate, a synchondrosis, not to be confused with a syndesmosis, which is fibrous. This is a synchondrosis, chondro being the root of cartilage right there. They're trying to present here this idea that a growth disc is somehow joining two bones together, and that's a little too OCD on the part of maybe a minority of anatomists. I'm not going to go there. Right, so there's not two bones here. There's one bone and a growth disc that allows the bone to grow. So, nah, I'm not going there. Alrighty, so what else is a syndesmosis? What truly is, that I find acceptable, is going to be hyaline cartilage. It's always hyaline, not any other kind of cartilage. Hyaline cartilage that joins two bones together. Okay, so here we have rib 1. Here we have the manubrium of the sternum. And we have the very definition of a synchondrosis. Okay, so that's the deal right there. Alrighty, then we have something called a symphysis. Some things are actually utilizing the name of the joint classification. So a pubic symphysis right here is one in which a fibrocartilage, how shall I say, unifying matrix is joining together the two pubic bones of the pelvic girdle right there. Okay, so a pubic symphysis. Over here, we have a intervertebral disc, and again, we're using fibrocartilage. And if we look from above, we would have to actually look from above, we would find a circular disc that is made out of circular collagen bundles passing through what looks like hyaline cartilage, and in the middle is the nucleus pulposus. Okay, so fibrocartilage joining two vertebrae at the body. This fibrocartilage intervertebral disc then is in the classification of symphysis. Okay, so we're all set with that.